Every time I honor a want without needing it to make sense to anyone, even myself, I get stronger at knowing what I want. And these little moments are teaching me how to actually just listen to myself again. Welcome to the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. I'm Amanda Doyle, certified life and leadership coach, here to help high-achieving women use practical mindset tools to live your complex life with more ease. Each week, you'll learn how to lead with more confidence at work, stay regulated and present in parenting, and actually enjoy the life that you've worked so hard to build. So pop in your earbuds and let's do some coaching. So I'm wondering if maybe this sounds familiar to you. You've built a life that looks exactly how it's supposed to. You are capable, you're responsible, you're a woman people can count on. Your career is solid, your family is stable, you can run your household, hit a deadline, manage a calendar. Under the surface, there's this quiet ache. You don't really feel like you're falling apart exactly. You just don't feel fully present, not fully lit up, not excited. It's like something inside of you is a little bit dim and you can't figure out why. Maybe you find yourself zoning out during your downtime or scrolling instead of journaling, or maybe obsessing over decisions that shouldn't really feel that important, or saying yes to things and then immediately wishing you hadn't. But when you ask yourself why, when you take a minute to say, what am I missing? What do I want? Your brain doesn't really know. This is probably not because you are indecisive, and it is definitely not because you're lazy. It could be that maybe you never learned how to want things just because you do, without a reason that is based in subconscious external expectation. This has been my journey, especially over the last 5 years. Learning how to peel back the layers of who I thought I was supposed to be in order to find the part of me that actually wants things, not for approval or applause, but because they just feel good. This episode is a conversation for the woman who can manage any circumstance, but maybe can't hear their own desire. It's for those of you who can't quite tell the difference between doing what you should do and what you actually want to do. I want to share that this is super normal and you're certainly not alone. I've spoken with several clients about this very thing this month alone, and it's a well-documented experience of middle-aged women. So we're going to talk about why this happens and what it looks like to gently and slowly learn the language of wanting again. Because on the other side of learning how to let yourself actually want things is this feeling of fulfillment and purpose. It's that numbness and listlessness that will start to dissipate, and it feels so good. So let's talk about how this pattern might have developed so we can sort of normalize it. Maybe for as long as you can remember, you have been scanning for what others need before checking in with yourself. Maybe the earliest form of belonging that you learned was to anticipate and accommodate and keep the peace, like knowing exactly when to be quiet around a parent who was already overwhelmed, or stepping in to help without being asked because it just made things easier. You might have learned early that meeting expectations felt safer than having your own. Maybe it looks like picking up on your boss's tone before they even give you feedback, or knowing your partner's needs before they say a word. Maybe you instinctively offer to organize a group trip or bake for the class party, not because you want to, but because you sense it will just make things smoother, less risky. And you do it so automatically that you don't even realize you're overriding yourself. You just figured out how to be helpful and polished and low maintenance and impressive. Like maybe in college you dated someone who called you easygoing because you never had a preference for where to eat. Well, maybe you did have a preference, but it just felt easier or safer not to come across as picky, and you were praised for that. You learned to contort instead of ask and to anticipate instead of express yourself. And in this process, you've subconsciously built this identity around being the one who just gets it. This identity was adaptive. It made you feel safe. And at some point, it started to feel like the only way to belong. So you kept going. You built this life of achievement, reliability, and gold stars. And now here you are, successful by all right standards, but still vaguely unfulfilled. secretly a little numb, maybe even a little resentful of how much you do without knowing if you actually want any of it. And maybe you're aware of this already, but when you try to listen for desire, you try to want something, whatever that means to you, your brain interrupts you. And it might sound like this: shouldn't I be grateful for what I have? Is wanting more silly or selfish? Or there's also this even less conscious thought: I don't deserve to want more. This is not a character flaw. It is nervous system conditioning. And it's not what is meant for you. You are a creative force meant to live a fulfilled and purposeful life. It's just that wanting, for many of us, it wasn't encouraged. It was managed, or it was redirected, or it was quietly dismissed. So of course your brain doesn't register wanting as freedom, as something that will help you become your truest you. It registers it as risk, something to avoid. But that part of you who still wants more, she is in there and she's not going anywhere, because that is just who you are. So let's talk about how to start actually listening to her again. Because when you start listening to yourself again, you're going to move through the world in a way that models how your kids can start listening to themselves. And to me, this is just the best guidance we can give our kids. And you can do this without saying a word, just by living your life from a place of desire instead of risk mitigation. So what do you do when you realize that you've spent most of your life doing what was expected, but now you're noticing that's not actually serving anymore, and you're starting to wonder what you actually want? I offer that you don't need to force this clarity. You don't have to chase a full reinvention of who you are. I offer that you can just start by listening in small, consistent ways until your own voice starts to feel safe again. Here are 4 gentle ways that I am learning to want again. These aren't really like steps to master. They're more just invitations to start to practice. The first strategy I'll offer you is to start with safety, not an action plan. Before I can even access what I want, I have to remind my body we're not in trouble. This is safe. I used to think I needed to figure it all out, like I should sit down with a blank journal and a cup of coffee and sketch out a 5-year plan from scratch and then follow it to a T. But now I know what I need is grounding. For me, my daily habit is to give myself time in the morning to write out whatever is on my mind with no agenda, just letting my brain play. I often delete what I write. Occasionally I save a line or an idea or two, but mostly it's just for me. It's a reminder that I don't have to produce or prove anything to access what I want. Without that grounding, I notice that I go through my day often defaulting to people pleasing. But when I do take the time to center myself, I can actually start to hear what I want beneath all of that noise. And this subconsciously starts to guide how I show up throughout the day from a place of what I prefer versus what I should do. And then my days feel so much more purposeful and exciting. The second strategy is to focus on the little intuition hits in your body. For example, I stopped trying to figure out who I am on paper and then pursue that with linear action steps. Instead, I started paying attention to the moments that made me feel just a little more alive. Dressing in ways that feel true to my taste versus just practical or to fit in. Claiming more quiet time alone, even if that means disappointing someone or missing out on something. Following sparks of creativity instead of making strict project plans. I noticed that I started to linger on books that I liked, whether or not they were bestsellers or random self-help books. I started to notice which conversations energized me. I started to pay attention to what I envy in others, not with shame or trying to squash the feeling, but using it as information. For example, I get so lit up when I'm in the presence of someone who is magnetically authentic to themselves, even if they are wildly different from me. I am attracted to that freedom. That tells me something about what I want more of in my life. These are clues for me. I don't have to act on them yet. I'm just noticing them. My daughter has asked me a couple of times for a quote unquote yes day. And I am so terrified of this idea, but we are going to get it on the calendar. I guess as she describes it, it's basically a day that parents say yes to everything. Her best friend's mom did it with her, and of course, she had a blast. And I'm sure there's some reasonable boundaries that we're going to set so that my daughter doesn't eat 20 cupcakes. But I really like the spirit of it. So I'm going to offer that strategy to you. What would it be like to give yourself a yes day to start building this muscle and experiencing more freedom? The third strategy is just to let wanting be wanting with no justification or explanation needed. For example, I used to turn every desire into a productivity tool or family benefit or revenue stream. It sounded like this in my head. If I'm going to rest, it better make me a better mom or worker or person. Or if I want to take a class or pursue a hobby, it better lead to more income or a better skill. But now I practice a different belief. I want this because I want this, period. Sometimes the want is a nap. And for a long time, I felt like I needed a reason to be tired in order to justify resting. Like I had to tell myself, oh, I was up with my kiddo all night, or I'm PMSing. If I couldn't find a good excuse for the nap, I resisted the desire, as if rest has to be earned. And it wasn't just naps. If I watched TV at lunchtime and my husband walked in, I noticed I would feel this strong urge to justify it, to mention how productive my morning had been, as if I needed to prove that I deserved the break. Now I'm practicing letting rest be valid without needing an audience or an explanation. I let the want be valid. Letting my desire be valid without a good reason has been actually so radical for me. The final strategy is to practice wanting in low stakes situations, because this is a skill that maybe you haven't learned and it takes time. This is emotional strength training. So start small. For example, I try and clothes I actually like instead of ones that maybe feel appropriate. Or I play a song I want to hear over and over for no reason. Or I eat chicken and rice for breakfast just because. Every time I honor a want without needing it to make sense to anyone, even myself, I get stronger at knowing what I want. And these little moments are teaching me how to actually just listen to myself again. So well done today. Let's recap. We explored why so many high-achieving women find themselves feeling restless or disconnected, even in lives that look successful on paper. We traced the pattern back to early conditioning that taught you to please and perform and overfunction at the expense of knowing your own desires. And we walked through 4 gentle strategies that you can start practicing today. Grounding in safety before chasing clarity, noticing the small intuitive yeses in your body, letting wanting be valid, no justification needed, and rehearsing desire in low-stakes moments to rebuild trust with yourself. I challenge you to pick one this week and just notice what comes up. This is deep identity level work. It is slow and it is sacred, but it is wildly worth it. And it's exactly the kind of work we do inside my coaching program. So if you're ready to untangle the shoulds and rebuild your relationship with desire and create a life that feels more like yours from the inside out, I would love to guide you. You can learn more at choosebetterthoughts.com or just reach out to me with questions. I'm always happy to help you decide if this is the right program for you. And whether or not you join me there, I want you to know this. You are not behind and you don't need anyone's permission to begin. You can just start right now by wanting one honest thing and letting that be enough. Thanks for listening to the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. If this episode gave you a new perspective, please pass it on to a friend or leave a quick review. It helps so much. And if you're ready to go deeper, this is exactly the kind of work we do inside my coaching program. I offer weekly live coaching, access to my full self-coaching course, and daily motivation in an intimate community. You can learn more at choosebetterthoughts.com. Until next time, remember, you are already enough, and change gets to feel good. You've got this.